Welcome to the Word. In this, we're continuing on in our series about converting a Bible from one format into the Word Bible software's format. In this particular video, you can see already on the screen, we have Matthew, and it's done some conversion because of that regex file, or that regex rules file that we use. Let's look at what that regex rule file looks like. Go into Regex Editor, and you can open up that particular file. I tell it to format the regex rules so it looks more appealing on the screen, and then I go ahead and open it. Now, notice in here, I've been using one that's in the example files. I'm just leaving it in there just to make it easier for future users of TotheWord to have an example of what some regex rules might look like. So let's go ahead and load in. Okay, so regex is a complicated language that's used to convert text in various ways. We are not going to get into the details of how to write regex. That's something I would trust that you will look up and study out. There are some places that you can go online on Google and look up tutorials on regex, because it is a complex. It's not a programming language per se, but it's right up there. So right here in this tool, if you double click a line, it will load, for example, here, when there's a regex rule. So we have, I'll just explain a little bit how to write a regex rule. You have your single quotation mark, and I'll just start writing one, for example. Single quote. If you type a single quotation mark, it puts in the required fields for you, unless you're doing more advanced version. So if I was to do something like test, and then I wanted to read, and then I would go single quotation mark tab, and then another single quotation mark, and this is searching for test. Replace it with testing. Now I'm going to look at this a little bit more in detail. Double click this rule. You can also write up here, so tests and testing. Or maybe you have test and you need to change it to test, like this. Okay, so now we want it, usually it's going to be multi-line, is going down through one line at a time in the text and checking it out. Single line is taking the whole file as one huge line and working through it. Slows down the process, but at times you need that if you know how to work with regex. You can also do none, ignore pattern space, explicit capture. If you need to know what these are, this is detailed in the help file right up here under regex help. Well, actually, this regex help syntax is something that Costas has in the Word used, and this is a great tutorial on just starting out with regex. So go ahead, right there's one. So that's one. And go back in here to help and go to regex options. So these explain what, so let's see, what does explicit capture mean? It means specifies that the only valid captures are explicitly named or numbered groups of the form of da da da. This allows unnamed parentheses to act as a non-capturing groups without the syntactical clumsiness of that expression. Some of them are a lot, you probably wouldn't use that as much. Ignore case you might. So that if I was to say ignore case, I would get tet, and I would also get that one, tet. But I'm not, I'll do that for now. And then I'm going to update the rule. So now you see here, it threw this in here. If I wanted to make a comment about what I'm doing here, I'd just do a backward slash, and then just say, okay, this one does da da da. I need to fix the word tet and make it, and I want it to be. Now the ignore case only functions on the search, not on the replace. But let's say we want to make a more complicated rule. Okay, what about if you want to go through and repeat until no match? Sometimes there are cases where your replacement needs to be fixed. Be careful, that can cause a continuous loop. What if you don't want to use regex and you just want to use a basic find and replace? So let's say we want to do this again. So we're just looking for tet, and we replace it with test. But what if we want to just use no regex? So basically, click regex there, and you notice it gets rid of all that. You can't ignore the case, but it's very fast. It's faster than using a regex, so it's just a quick rule. Going back into here, let's go back into our rule. What if you want to do a replace in? This is a much more complicated deal. Let's enable it. So what that would mean is I'm going to say, let's say I have a tag like bold, the bold tag. And inside of it, I'm going to use a regex here. And you need at least one a capture group. It works with the first capture groups. That's something inside the parentheses. And now, let's go up in here. This is ignored. Update rule. Now, okay, let's turn off the ignore case. Update rule again. Now we're going to go in. So inside of bold, now imagine, so inside of that parenthesis, we're going to start searching for things. So let's say just inside there, we're looking for the word Davd, and it needs to be David. We're not using regex yet right now, so inside of there, so we just hit it and we update it again. So Davd becomes David, and now it just looks every time inside those that group. The bad thing is what you have done effectively, and you have to think through how does this work, am I going to get rid of my bold settings? These are things you'll have to wrestle with and work through. We'll oftentimes look down through these regex rules. Okay, so let's see if we got another one with an N in it. This is a good way. This quick find and replace will help me. Aha. So inside of this, notice that the capture group is the whole thing. So I don't want to get rid of the bold. So I need to go back up here and go around the whole thing, because it's in that first capture group, as I told you. So now it's been updated. So I don't lose my bold marks. If I wanted to, I could. Now, is there any other ones in here? Okay, you can see that the targeted references are really complex, and there's a lot of Don't get overwhelmed by that. Start simple, like we did up here above. Okay, let me get rid of this group. I'm going to delete this rule. Go back in here, delete rule. Here, delete rule. By the way, you can also make if you have a comment, it's right over here. And I just want to delete that comment. Okay, let's keep this. We'll save this file again just to make sure it's up. There's a little bit more about regex rules. You have a command called file. If you want it to work on all the files, you just hit all. But let's say you want to testing something and you want to ignore a section. None, because there's no file. What this does is something very special. If you have a file equals, let's see if we got any more of those in here. File. By the way, this is a regex find and replace, so your commands need to be in there. Oh, this one would be, it looks for just that file. And basically, you have to give it the specific name. It would be something like file test.txt and semicolon text1.txt, etc. This is a more advanced usage of it, and that's where it's really important to look into the Regex Editor help. And which is, unfortunately, I'm kind of working through that and building that, so we don't have that in there. But I gave you a little bit of a taste of it. You can also see more information right here in the interface. It has some optional advanced. You don't have to use that. And you get into multiple files. Sorry, it's not a semicolon. It is a bar, if you want to have it that way. So that gets you into digging into regex. Now, go through, learn regex. Remember the regex rules. The simple one, a simple regex rule, is simply taking something like this and replacing it right here with this. So in our scenario, let's look at let's go to book editor now. So we're going to leave that open, and we're going to open, what does the USFM file look like by itself? And let's get in here and see if if we can open it. Actually, you know what? I will just open it for you in a Regex, an editor, just to get a really quick look at it. We're not wanting to use TotheWord for this. We just want to see what it looks like. There's a couple different editors that I use. A free one is Notepad++, and this is what it looks like. This is not where you need it to be. This is how it starts out. And you'll notice some different tags and formats and stuff like that. You need, for example, the Gospel according to Matthew is changed. If you go back in here into the Bible editor, you'll see it's right here. It's been changed. It's put into a heading. So this is what it should be. And I'm just going to copy that so you can get a little quick comparison. That's what it was. And so get you some ideas of how to do that. You're just substituting text over and over, and Regex is extremely fast and powerful in that regard. Now, I'm going to show you what it looked like if we do this on the actual, this file was written for this Bible. So let's look at what it looked like. It was a web Bible, which is available for purchase. And so let's go in here. Creative Commons, public. And it was also from eBible. And I will show you what it looked like here. So let's just go, we'll just do Matthew again. Here it goes. It's looping through the Bible file. You'll see some progress here. It goes pretty fast usually. There are some times when it slows down. And you see here, it throws things in. What this does though, which is awesome, is it creates these tags for the book and etc. And goes down through, adds the information you need, and puts it in where it belongs. Next time, or in another future video, we'll look at the Bible build a little bit more, when things get converted into a map file where you need a map file. There are some things that are important to recognize too. I don't know if we have it here in Bible build. Let's see. No, not right off. I think it's in here under Bible editor help. What you will see is a Bible must have a certain amount of lines. If it's a New Testament or an Old Testament or an Old and New Testament. And it will notify you if it doesn't have the correct amount of lines. Oh, maybe it's in here. No. Okay, this is just kind of a start. Get you going, get you moving. And hopefully next time we'll look into a little bit more of a future or further along Bible. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless.